Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Narayana. Hari Om and good evening from Pittsburgh. If you think of every article, being, and circumstance that you interacted with today, each article, each being, and each circumstance has a specific nature, such as the nature of sugar is to be sweet. Yes? The nature of a cranky person is to create disharmony. Thinking about this more deeply, what is the nature of life? What is the nature of that which holds together all of the articles, all of the beings, all of the circumstances? And if we think about that, we will come to appreciate that the nature of life is completeness, is contentment. That which is holding all together is joy, which is why we're all pursuing joy. We're all trying to return to joy. If you remember the sutra for Shloka 7, I had said, who made who? If you look at yourself only from a biological perspective, then no doubt your parents created you, and your grandparents, and so on. But if you go deeper into that, who's holding all of our parents together? That is the Creator. And the Creator is always smiling. That joy. But if we don't go deeper, if we stay at the surface, there will only be stress. I look at her and she's stressful and he's stressful and there's stress over there, and I start to think that the nature of life is stress. So I start to accept stress. But that doesn't make me healthy. It doesn't make me happy. We have to be clear about what the nature of life is. Right now, living is hard. Going to work is not hard, it's the people at work. Going to school is not hard, it's the people at school that make school hard. This Saturday I'll be in Cleveland and we're organizing a workshop on bullying. Being bullied is hard. I would like to say that being a bully is also hard. Why are they being a bully? Living is hard, yes? Knowledge makes living softer. When we have knowledge, we have a different vision, a different attitude, which is why we're focusing on Bodha. We're focusing on knowledge to make our living more smooth, more serene. It's like South Indians eating yogurt at the end of the meal, to make that whole physical body more smooth, more serene. But that's only for one meal. You need knowledge for life, yes? We'll begin with Shloka 12 because we went through a full review last week. Acharya Shankara in Shloka 12, 13, and 14, we're going to study 3 today. He is going to help us be clear about who we are not. Because if I'm clear about who I'm not, who I am becomes clearer also, right? One of the complexities of today is that we have so many options. But when options start to be reduced, then making a choice becomes easier. So we're studying who we are not. I'm on Shloka 12. You can repeat after me. Panchikrita Mahabhuta Sambhavam Karma Sanchitam Shariram Sukha Dukkhanam Bhogayatana Muchyate. Together, Panchikrita Mahabhuta Sambhavam Karma Sanchitam Shariram Sukha Dukkhanam Bhogayatana Muchyate. Acharya Shankara says here, Panchikrita Mahabhuta, that the elements that are not manifest have gone through a process of Panchikrita to become manifest. Now, if you remember, I'd asked you to read ahead about Shloka 12, yes? How many of you read ahead for Shloka 12? Then you sort of have an idea of what's being shared now. But if you haven't, then the class is over for you. I'll catch you next week. Okay, I'll try to make this simple. Everyone knows about the periodic table? Mercury, helium, oxygen. That's it, right? I studied business. We don't know science. So we have the periodic table, yes? And when each of these elements, these atoms, they start to join to become molecules. Hydrogen and oxygen makes water, as an example. That's what Panchikrita is. You have 5 parts of this periodic table. You have space, and you have air, and you have fire, and you have water and earth. And Panchikrita is when they all combine to have their own properties, but also to share the properties of others. So when we take space, when it goes through Panchikrita, it also has a portion of air and water and fire and earth. You know what the English translation for Panchikrita is? It's not written here. Pujaswami Tejramananda told us. It's called pentamyrus self-duplication and a mutual combination. Can you spell that? I'll say it again just for fun, okay? Pentamyrus self-duplication and mutual combination. I'm not going to add more thoughts to that. Next quarter, sambhavam karma sanchitam. These elements that are unmanifest, they become manifest, and they keep on combining, and they combine to create this body, this gross body. Our hair, our skin, our blood type. And how is our body created? Karma sanchitam, by our karma. How is our karma created? Very simply, by the way we think. Thought by thought, we are designing this body. We are designing the field in which this body lives. So the gender you are, the health that you're in, this has all been created by you. And even now we're creating our future body. And for those who are thinking, well, they're not going to have a future body, isn't it? If you can just pause and think about this one quarter, we are engaged in the best action for the brightest future. Because we're learning how to think. So never neglect the body. Never try to change the body you're in. You created it for your self-development. This body is called Sharira. And I've shared with you many times, what does Sharira mean? Body. Sharira means that which is forever perishing. And what does this perishing look like? Sukha and dukkha. In other words, this body is utterly demanding, isn't it? Vyasa is almost 5 months old. We go through so many diapers, so many feeding, so much carrying and crying and so on and so forth. And he's only 5 months old. Imagine for a 50-year-old how much they would have eaten, how much they would have excreted. Just think about that, just to show how demanding this body is. That's the sukha and dukkha. Pleasure comes in, pain stays. Pain goes away, pleasure comes in. That's what this body is engaged in, no? That's why it's called a bhogayatanam. It's called ayatanam. Ayatanam means counter, means a house for bhoga. It's a house for experiences. Now think about this. When you're dreaming, you're not identified with your body. Do you go through any bodily experiences when you're dreaming? When I'm dreaming and I'm sleeping beside Sheila and by accident I elbow her. By accident, dreaming. She can't get mad at me because I'm not identified with the fact that I did it. By accident, dreaming. But when you're identified with the body, what is it always doing? It's interacting, right? I'm looking at you, you're speaking to me. Even through video, we're interacting. Sri Ramana says, anyone who's identified with the body is a samsari. Anyone who's not identified with the body is a sannyasi. So what is the deciding factor between being a samsari and a sannyasi? This body. Now this may seem like a very radical thought. I'll bring in sadhana panchakam. Acharya Shankara says to his disciples, Nijagrahat vinir gamyatam, which means escape from the bondage of home. And I love sharing this thought with people who are not in tune with the context, because really Acharya Shankara is saying, run away from home. So whenever I teach youth, I always quote this, run away from home. But what your home is where you live. We don't live in a physical address. We live in our muscles. We live in the mirror, no? This is just a gross body. Why are we treating this like our home? Here is your sutra for shloka 12. It is, watch what you wish for. Watch what you wish for. Because if you think negatively, if you think in a worldly way, the body's going to be the same way, correct? Now and the future. But if you think in a sattvic way, in an aspiring way, you create a different body in a different field. So watch what you wish for. 13. We're going from the gross body to the subtle body. What makes a body gross or subtle? A gross body is that which is perceivable by the senses. I can touch this. I can smell you. You can smell me. And when it's not perceivable, then it's called subtle. So one is with the senses and one is senseless. Really, the subtle body is senseless when you think about it, the way the mind functions. Please repeat. Pancha prana mano buddhi.
Pancha prana mano buddhi.
Dashendriya samanvitam.
Dashendriya samanvitam.
Apanchikrita bhutotam.
Apanchikrita bhutotam.
Sukshmangam bhoga sadhanam.
Sukshmangam bhoga sadhanam.
Together. Pancha prana mano buddhi. Dashendriya samanvitam. Apanchikrita bhutotam. Sukshmangam bhoga sadhanam. Acharya Shankara says, the subtle body is made up of the pancha pranas. What does prana mean? Physiological function. And how many physiological functions are there? 5. They are called, just for your reference, and I'm sharing this because it's amazing that our rishis were able to document this. We start with prana is inhalation. Prana is inhalation. Apana is excretion. Not just exhalation, it's sweating also as an example. Samana is digestion. What I'm inhaling and I've not excreted gets digested. Not just with my stomach, with my liver, with my kidneys. And then that gets circulated, which is called vyana. Blood comes to my muscles, hormones in my brain, etc., etc. And the last is called udana, which is very special. Udana means extrication. Extrication. When you and I, when we're close to dying, it is this udana, this physiological function, that propels the subtle body into a new gross body. It's called udana, extrication. And if you don't have that udana, then as that body dies, then the subtle body is going with it. That's not possible. I'm just showing you the power of udana. Everyone's with me? 5 physiological functions, panchapranas, okay? Then, manaha. What is manaha? The mind. And the nature of the mind is samshaya. Samshaya literally means that which doubts. And if I can make this more relatable, the mind is ever engaged in interpreting. As I'm speaking, isn't your mind interpreting what I'm saying? Your digestion is not, your circulation is not, but the mind is. So panchaprana, manaha, and buddhi. Now, where have you heard the word buddhi before? Not in a positive. Where have you heard the word buddhi? Buddhu, correct? Buddhu is like a sattvic insult. It's okay to insult people in a sattvic way, like buddhu. Like if someone called me buddhu, I'd first laugh and then feel bad. Buddhi is of the intellect, is of the nature of nischaya. Nischaya means to be determined. To relate to this, it is that which instructs. So when you set your alarm clock tonight, is it the manaha or the buddhi? It is the intellect that decides that I should set my alarm for 3 a.m. because that's what we're learning through Atma Bodha, is to wake up at 3 a.m. Now when the alarm clock is going off at 3 a.m., who's speaking in that time? The buddhi or the manaha? The mana is speaking very loud at that time. Doubting, right? What were you thinking by setting the alarm clock at 3 a.m.? So this is all part of our subtle body. Isn't this amazing that we're studying a text that is about us? Science, biology, business, the economy, politics, it's all studying stuff. But here we're studying ourselves. That's amazing. What else is part of this subtle body? Dasha Indriya. What does Dasha mean? 10. Indriya? Senses. Sense organs. Now, tell me, in reference to our scriptures, where else have you heard the word Dasha? Dashavatara, keep going. Who has something that is Dasha? Ravana, correct? Ravana has 10 heads. And I've seen pictures of Ravana, not in my mind, but actual visual pictures of Ravana. And none of those 10 heads are communicating with each other. One is talking, one is sleeping, one is burping, one is arguing, right? None of them are coordinated. And then you have Bhagwan Rama. Eka Vachani, Eka Patni, Eka Bani, speaks once, one wife, one arrow. Totally coordinated. Only discipline can defeat indiscipline. So this Dashendriya, Vijaya Dashami, is when we should become disciplined with our 5 organs of perception. And wherever there's perception, there's going to be 5 organs of response. Jnana and karma. Exactly. So Bhagavan saying is samanvitam. This subtle body is made up of the pranas, the mind, the intellect, and the senses. Samanvitam means assemblage. Is that the real word, right? Assemblage? That's a real English word? I have these ideas, but I just don't know if they're real words or not. Whenever you think of an assemblage, what I think about is a machine. All of these parts make an engine. All of these parts make a rotimatic, etc., 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 correct? An assemblage. So isn't this subtle body just a machine? The gross body is just a house, and then there's artificial intelligence living in the house. Bhagavan Acharya Shankara says in the 3rd quarter, Apanchikrita bhutotam. This subtle body is made up of the subtle elements, not the gross elements. The subtle elements means that space and air and fire and water and earth are pure. They've not mixed. But when they become gross elements, they've mixed with each other. Do we breathe pure oxygen? No, I think pure oxygen would kill us. I think. Right? We breathe grossified oxygen. Just to give you a reference point to all of this. If you're following along, this body is made up of bhutas, ghosts. It's made up of these elements that are manifest. The mind is made up of mahabhutas, the elements that are pure. And what the spirit is made up of or called is not bhuta, not mahabhuta, but just maha. It's just infinite, Brahman. Acharya Shankara says in the fourth quarter, Sukshmangam. This body is sukshma and it is bhoga sadhanam. This is the instrument, the means for experiences. Okay? In reference to the last shloka, the body is the field for experiencing, and the mind is the experiencer. The body is the house, the mind is the one who's living in the house. The body is what is happening, but the mind is the one who's interacting with those happenings. Gross body, subtle body, but the implication is you're not either of them. How can you be the house? How can you be that which is interacting with, this machine interacting with the house? So here's your sutra. The subjective is an object. The subjective is a object. Now subjective here means the mind, the intellect. But that also is just an object. It's made up of the same materials as the objects are. Steam, water, and ice. It's all just H2O, correct? Are they so different? For a child, they're very different. But for someone who's grown up, they're not different. But we make the mind so real. When I have a jealous thought, it must be real. I have to act on it. I have to defriend people on Facebook. But if you get a cut on your hand, put a Band-Aid on it. It's not a big deal. If you can treat your thoughts like that too, those vices, wouldn't we be more free? If we know the nature of the body and the mind, we start to become free of that. Shloka 14. The hardware is made up of materials. Yes? The software is also made up of materials, elements. In my laptop that I'm using right now, there's hardware, there's software, and that software has gone through programming, gone through coding. And Acharya Shankara says in Shloka 14, that too is made up of materials. So whether it's ice or water or steam, it is the same. Body, mind, ego, same. Try not to give them undue importance. Anadya vidya nirvachya karanopadiruchyate upadi tritiyad anyam atmanam avadharayet. Together. Anadya vidya nirvachya karanopadiruchyate upadi tritiyadanyam atmanam avadharayet. Acharya Shankara says, avidya, ignorance, is not adi but anadi. It is not vachya but anirvachya. So opening this up. Avidya What does avidya feel like? What does avidya feel like? Forgetfulness, no? If vidya helps you to remember, helps you to know, then avidya helps you to not know, helps you to forget. So avidya is forgetfulness. Forgetting that I'm more than the body and the mind and the intellect. That's avidya. This avidya is anadi. Adi means beginning, anadi means beginningless. Now let's think about this a little bit. When were you ignorant about knowing ballet? And knowing means performing ballet. When did you become ignorant of ballet? Was there a time? It was on June 4th, 2015. That's when I became ignorant about ballet. Right? It's beginningless. It's there. So this avidya of ballet or a language or of our nature is beginningless. And another technicality behind this. What time did you sleep last night?
10:45.
What time did you sleep?
9:30.
10:45, 9:30. Both of them are wrong. Plus, I don't believe them. But if you know what time it is, that means you're awake. Correct? And once you're sleeping, you don't know what time it is. The same goes with waking up. If I say, what time do you wake up? You can infer, but you've woken up and then time has begun. Time is a product of the mind. Right now, time is going very slow for you. But for me, it goes so fast. Like, how do I do this many shlokas in half an hour? So time is a product of the mind. And here we're talking about the ego, which is more than the mind, right? The ego came first, then the mind. So it's not so abstract to think of beginninglessness. Anirvacha. Vacha means to define, to describe, to speak about. Anirvacha means definitionlessness. That also is not a real word, but you know what I'm talking about. So forgetfulness, beginningless, defineless. Can you define ignorance? And the way to think about this, here's a technical way to think about this. In Vedanta, we have 3 levels of reality. One is called real with a capital R. And the way to understand this is that which never changes. It was there, it is there, it will be there. That which exists, that which ever exists is real. Can you give me an example of that which ever exists? Other than existence and awareness, nothing ever exists. Then you go to unreal, that which never exists. And the classical example given in our scriptures is the horns of a hare. Who knows where they come up with these examples? Who calls it a hare anyways? But I love the alliteration, the horns of a hare. So that never exists, so we just don't talk about it. Did you think about horns of a hare this morning as you were brushing your teeth? Oh, those horns of a hare. It never exists. But ignorance, you can't say it exists because it's changing. It will come to an end. But you can't say it never exists because here I'm experiencing sorrow, fear. So it's indescribable, no? What is it? These words are very succinct. What is this avidya? Karana upadi uchyate. It's known to be the cause for the subtle body and the gross body, which is why this is called a causal body. The causal body causes the subtle body. The subtle body causes the gross body. My incompleteness makes me have desires at a mental level, and it makes me act at a physical level. These are all upadis. Upadi means equipment. In the 3rd quarter, Acharya Shankara says, upadi tritiya. These 3 equipments, there is a anyam. Anya means there's something more than just these three equipments. And here, Acharya Shankara is sharing, if there's an equipment, what else has to be there? A user of that equipment, no? When you log on to your computer at work, you have to put in a user's name, correct? And there's a user password. Even I mistakenly downloaded the software update on my phone. Mistakenly. Because I just like it being simple. I just keep saying no, no, no. For the last 8 months I've said no. But now I, by accident, press yes. And I was feeling so careless about it. So now it's asking me to put in a passcode. But I don't want to put in a passcode for my phone. So it keeps reminding me, you need a passcode, you need a passcode, you need a passcode. If there's a passcode, it means there's someone who's using that, correct? If these are all equipments, there's someone else that is present. And that someone else is Atma. Atma means that which is closest. Avadharayet means you should know this. He's talking to Vivek first, and Vivek is talking to everyone else. I'm not saying you should know this, I already know this. Avadharayet means pay attention. Think carefully. For those who studied in our Moha Mudgara course, remember one of the last thoughts was, be vigilant. Be very vigilant. By knowing this, life is no longer hard. Life is joyful. And the sutra for 14 is not this, comma, this, and this. So not this, this, and this. Remember I said 5 English words, so here I'm using punctuations to adhere to that. Not this, this, and this. So not this is the body, this is the subtle body, and even this, the ego. In Sanskrit we say neti, neti, neti. Na iti, na iti, na iti. So there's our sutra for 14. Oh.